predominantly women who are having sex more.
Exactly.
Which is why that STI and STDs are spreading more.
Yes.
In accordance to your logic, you are in control of who comes in, which is why it refutes back to key that opens up many locks as a master key, but a lock that gets opened by many keys is a shitty lock. Like,
again,
that's the whole point.
I never want to put a lollipop in my mouth that you all have just shared.
Exactly. So in a sense, you would agree with us. 80% of those men can't even get a conversation with you in the first place. Like they do. And a lot of times, a lot of women will just disregard a man coming up to them if they're the same height as them in heels.
Where's the accountability for men? Because this is something that I constantly hear men talk about. They talk about it's the love of the game.
And then create the game though. It's like you guys are.
It
women
takes
do.
two to tango though.
No, it does. You're presenting that. Where's the accountability? The accountability is like we're in a society that says having sex openly, whenever you want is okay. You have full control to wait till marriage. That's up to you. So if you don't wait till marriage because you got manipulated and that's on you, that's on you.
So we should, not hold people to things that they've done in the past.
I like to state I've been celibate for a year, just before I start this. But with the lock and key statement that was made earlier, I think this is a mindset that men hold. To a lot of men, body count does matter. But I think a lot of women are also wanting a lot of the men that are on the market. And personally, like for me, the same group of people that talk about having like post-nut clarity is never somebody I would ever take sexual advice from, because I've never experienced that a day in my life. If I had sex with somebody, if I looked at something, I never thought, maybe shouldn't have done that after. Like I was decisive in my choices of giving my body to someone. And the same way we talk about a lock and a key, I personally don't want a lollipop that everyone has put in their mouth. So it's like, you can say, it's different for men and women, but an extremely lustful man who has slept with multiple people, I think will continue that lustful behavior. And we've seen this with celebrity relationships. Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce. I mean, like you can be as good of a wife as you can. And if you have a lustful man by you, he will pick the...
Why are we using celebrities as the example? Here's the thing about it. If you happen to have a lustful man, guess what? You end up choosing that man. The way how it starts off is usually the way how it finishes. So I think we just experiencing right now a lack of accountability still.
The not choosable woman, the woman that is not marriage material, and he'll still cheat behind your back and go cheat with the one that is easily accessible. So I think like this whole, also, if I lie to you and tell you my body count is something that it's not, you have no way to prove that I'm not like telling the truth. So at the end of the day, I think it's truly a mental thing. If you're gonna say I want a partner who isn't sexually all over the place, you should hold that same standard for yourself, because to think that you're gonna get into a relationship and all that's gonna be magically gone, I think it's really silly to think that. If you are a lustful creature and you have sex with just about anything just to get your rocks off, in a relationship, you're probably not going to be able to just tone that down.
She's a handful. Usually the characteristics and traits that follow your high body count is going to show itself, and it's going to unveil your true nature. You possibly can hide certain characteristics, but usually the trauma that you dealt with so many relationships is going to affect the new guy that is actually courting you, and you're going to make it difficult for him to actually break those barriers down to actually be a good candidate. See, here's the thing about it. What I don't know will not hurt me, but it always unveils itself one way or another.
In a relationship and a person asks me their body count, they're not the person for me. I think that's very childish behavior. As long as you're tested, we're adults. I don't really care. I'm not saying I'm going out and being with everybody, but I'm very to myself as a person. And if I choose you, I chose you for a reason. But again, with the lustful thing, if you're having sexual encounters with 100 people, it probably shows in other aspects of your life, and not wanting or not having enough in other aspects. And then also the energy exchange. I think giving yourself's body, both men and women, to someone, it definitely plays a part in your mental health. That's why everyone, no matter what gender, should be cautious of what you're getting yourself into. But also women are at risk for higher sexual assault, rape, and I don't think it's anybody's place to tell them how they should heal. Whether that is again,
I
it's
just want to pause here real quick. Women say that they're more susceptible to sexual assault and rape. Yes, we know what can happen, but that doesn't stop women from being as promiscuous and, lustful with the clothing. It's possible. They wear damn near nothing, but say they have the most fear when out in public. That makes no sense.
not the most unhealed version, but sleeping with people to get their power back, there's no room to judge on how someone heals. It might not be the right way, but to me, I'm not going to judge anybody for doing that.
Usually it's the man who presents the question and it's the girl who says yes or no.
Correct.
There we go.
If it's the other way around, it's basically, unconsensual, which is not.
Yeah, I only said that just 'cause I don't want it to be confused.
I thought I was hearing that wrong, my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. Because I think, and I think to kind of look at it like, do men create it? I doubt it because in nature, in every other creature, basically, every other species, the female ends up selecting. So I would say that it's a trend, so I think it's a safe assumption that it's the same for humans as well.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So you would agree? Would I'm curious to see your answer. Would you agree that women allow access?
I think, yes, but also if a man's asking 100 people, then
Well, who's to say he's asking? I mean,
And what does that even matter if he is asking?
he could just,
then
it could just be.
consensual.
But the reason why I ask is just because you brought up the STD and the STI,
Yeah.
scenario. But like, if women are presenting that they're answering the question to men asking, hey, the man's asking, can I have sex with you? And she's like, yeah, right? She's allowing the access for sex to happen. So majority of the time, it's predominantly women who are having sex more.
Exactly.
Which is why that STI and the STDs are spreading more.
Yes.
In accordance to your logic.
She's bum fumble. She's bum fumble. Women have become way more looser in time. We already know that. Most cultures have always tried to harness female promiscuity and keep it, locked in a box so that it doesn't spread out. And then we start having all this, frivolous sex. And now today, that's the one thing that has changed is women are busting it down a whole lot more. But guess what? Still a large majority of guys aren't. So that lets you know that they picking the same guys that know how to sweet talk them, make them feel good. They giving those guys access.
It's also
I think there's actually statistics that disprove that, like men actually are usually the carriers of STD, and I wish I had the statistic with me, and if you are like a sexy, hot guy, if you are asking 100 women, you might get 50 of them to say yes. So, is it necessarily the one woman who told you, yes, I'm okay with that? Is it her somehow fault, or is it the guy that's like putting his dick everywhere?
No
Well,
accountability.
that's going to be in the portion of accountability.
Yes.
Right, you have to take accountability. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
The man's asking, the woman
And
allows
you lack it.
him to do it, yes. But at the end of the day, you are in control of who comes in, which is why it refutes back to, a key that opens up many locks is a master key, but a lock that gets opened by many keys is a shitty lock. Like,
Again,
that's the whole
I
point.
never want to put a lollipop in my mouth that you all have just shared.
Exactly. So in a sense, you would agree with us.
Where you
Yeah.
say it takes two to tango, it does take two to tango, and it takes two irresponsible people to get an STD. So it's like, again, even though I have allowed access to someone to come in my body, right? Because I said yes, somehow like it's more meaningful to me. It doesn't make sense to, I feel like, defend somebody. Again, asked 50 women or however many women in the club that they can, and they're just trying to bag some sex for the night. I think if anything, that is way more disgusting and much more questionable behavior sexually than someone who goes, oh, I like you, I'm into you, I want to have sex with you. If you have someone who's just giving it out because they just want to get it out, like, I think that's, in my opinion, that's grosser. Like,
Whether it's in the club, on a dating app, in church damn near, or just in public, if you meet somebody and y'all start, courting each other, you still have to follow the proper procedures to make sure this is a good candidate. Why don't you have them meet your family possibly? Let the guys around you end up figuring out that guy, what type of guy he is. Have some standards with yourself. It's going to be up to y'all. I hate to say this, y'all have more choice, more freedom to do whatever y'all want. You have to take some accountability with that.
nasty.
What's interesting about this question is we're both gonna, like, both sides are gonna argue whether somebody should or should not value something. But at the end of the day, I talk to men all the time, you know, I get to see their perspectives. I also obviously talk to women too, and I get to see their perspectives.
Travis Kelce.
Like I know men inherently value that somebody hasn't slept with somebody as much.
I
right?
said that.
So like that, yeah, they have a lower body count. So whenever we're sitting here thinking about, you know, the master key or, you know, the lock, when we're sitting here looking at those, at the end of the day, the men are going to get to determine what they value the most, and women are going to get to determine what they value the most.
True.
And when you jump into a relationship, I think it's important to be transparent about your body count, about those things. And if somebody's asking about those, it's because they value them. And it goes back to one of the first things that I talked about is like, if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody and you're good for them, then you're going to share the same morals and values and all those other things. And I know just inherently men value that, and that's going to be something that when they jump into a relationship, they're going to want to talk about that. They're going to want to know that, you know, 35 other guys haven't been in a relationship with this person and slept with them. They're going to want to know that, you know, she is, I guess, more selective with that. She cares more about it, and she's saved that for something that, you know, means more to her. And it goes back to like the number of times that you've slept with somebody diminishes what that relationship can be.
I said that.
I do believe that people are going to talk about it when you get into a relationship about, you know, what's the whole body count. When you're younger, I think you do it a little bit more like, oh, am I your first? Or, you know, how many people, you know, who you was with before me? People usually ask that when they're younger. As you get older, the question probably should not come up. And I'm going to be honest, I'm still a firm believer on what I do not know will not hurt me. So I'm not going to just go out there trying to dig on who are your partners was, how many of them, you know, how did they do it like this, do it like that. It's time for me to make my new mark. And if you have bad characteristics and traits, those things will show itself. Sometimes we can self-sabotage ourselves, I think, by asking too many questions, just trying to dive into things you might not need to know because you might not be ready to handle them. So I think we should do a little bit more discernment on just the characteristics. And ladies, you might want to be more careful. If you do have a promiscuous past and you just go out there just talking about it all frivolous, you might be cooking yourself.
Earlier though, I think men have this thing of like wanting to own someone. You do not have access or own someone's past, and you could only hope.
But I can sit here and if you have your past and not you specifically, but say somebody says I've slept with 35 people, I know me personally would be like, I know that I cannot marry you because that is something that is going to bother me.
Hey, sorry, I'm gonna go on that.
Once again, I also have a question.
For me, that's as a guy, like I'll say this, like if I'm like, I mean, I guess because I don't care as much, right? But like I'm saying, like if I find a girl, you know, like we're hanging out, we're cool, clicking, and then she's like, let's say if it goes for a month or two, then I'm like, you know, what's your body count? And like for his example, she says 35, like, bro, like especially like how in her example, like she said, like if you're a female who did this like in your past, like for me, if we are here and now, I was with 35 dudes, but like that shit happened 5-10 years ago, like bro, who cares? Like that, like to me, that has nothing to do with.
Pay attention, cuz simping right now.
Right now, like you did your shit, like yeah, like you know, but it's like you can't go in the past and like change that shit, right? So it's like if you, to me, if I value as a woman, like you got values that like I can see myself with. That one fact that you was like crashing like with lots of dudes back in the day, like I'm not gonna be like, oh man, like you were a hoe back in the day, I can't do this. Like it's like, man, like she said, people grow, people change. Like, you know, I'm trying to look at you and value for what you bring to the table now, right? What you did 10 years ago when you were 16, like, you know, it is what it is, bro. Like,
so after hearing all of this, are you switching sides?
I don't want to say
That's fine.
I don't want to. No, I don't want to
thing.
say I'm switching sides. I'm saying ideally, I would prefer a woman who hasn't been slutty or anything. But at the same time, like, if you have the values I'm looking for, and like even if you say you was with 100 dudes, I'd be like, kind of like, damn, you know. But it's like, whatever, my turn now. You know what I'm saying? Like we
man said his turn.
You know, like.
Just being honest, I understand his perspective 100%. I can see both sides of it. I can see where a guy would potentially have an issue with it for sure if she has a high body count, but you're going to have some guys who just feel like, you know what, it's okay. But in another sense, a lot of guys might look at him as low value because he doesn't value himself enough to say that, you know what, that's just not a quality standard that I'm looking for. I don't want you in my life. But here's the thing about it. If the physicality and let's say the mental and everything is lining up and she did have a precarious past, you're going to have a lot of guys still take it. They're not going to say anything about it. That's why it's one of them things that's taboo to where, you know, it's possibly doesn't need to be said out loud because people are still going to concede on things. That's a fact.
Jeez. Well,
I mean, I think where you're getting at with that is the high body count itself isn't really what matters. I think it's the why. Kind of like what you were saying. Like if I was young and making stupid mistakes, young women, like you guys are all kind of at that age right now. I mean, like where guys, especially like guys who are sociopathic, not that most guys are, but like there's a very small like percentage of guys that are very sociopathic that are just gonna use you guys for your body. And they're very prominent in the dating scene, and it's very annoying as a guy who's not that guy, because every girl who gets played by so many of those guys starts to think we're all the same. And so kind of going back to the high body count thing, like the higher your body count is, most likely, yeah, if you've got a body count above like 35 and you're in your 20s, I doubt you've been in at least half of those as a real relationship, for one. But again, it kind of comes back to the why. Why is the body count high? You know,
hey, not trying to be funny, but Buddy with the black shirt on, he look like a white version of MTR, just being honest.
To me, it's more of like a little like footnote, like, well, we'll come back to this later. But again, if I don't find that out until like a month in, at that point, I know whether or not you've healed. I know whether or not if you're Christian, you've repented, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I know that, okay, she's made that change in her life to where she's not going to be a problem. One thing that you kind of notice in a trend is men kind of want a woman that makes them feel special, which I kind of think is why subconsciously the low body count comes in. And then women kind of want a man who's desirable amongst a multitude of women.
Yes, y'all do.
Yeah, where does that come from?
I can back that up. It's pretty simple. Like 80%. So if you take 100 men in a room, right, 20 of those men are going to be sleeping with multiple women, right? If you have 100 men, 100 women, right? 20% of those men are going to be sharing that multitude of the 100 women, because 80% of those men can't even get a conversation with you in the first place. Like a lot of men lack just the probability to even communicate with you. And a lot of times, a lot of women will just disregard a man coming up to them if they're the same height as them in heels. Like,
he know what's up. This is real. These women don't want to admit that, but these women they have, the standards are so strict. I don't know why they playing these games right now.
It's unbelievable.
That goes back to the nice. It goes back to the nice guy.
You two have kind of already answered it, but like you two gentlemen. So I'm curious, because like in my example, like you were talking about the why, right? So I would say the vast majority of my body count occurred from a teenage, when I was very, very young, you know, up till 16 years old. Then around 16, I started realizing, no, this is not how I want to live my life. But that occurred because I was sexually assaulted at a very young age. We were kind of talking about your way of getting your power back and choosing hypersexuality, choosing to heal, you know, and then trauma that I also experienced at that time, just from other things, caused that for a span of 3 years of my life, you know? So 3 years of my life from 13 to, 16 in that range. Damn. You know, I would say I slept with more people in that time than I have in my entire adult life.
That is crazy. And the world is not on you understanding, because you had that traumatic experience as a young child. That's still going to shape you. And guess what? That shaping you is going to affect you in your adult life. So you might need to autocorrect, and you need to fix that, because somebody doesn't have to just, oh, I'm sorry that you have. People are not going to do that. People are going to just take it for what it is. You still did it. And if you came out of it with worse quality of character, that's going to be your fault.
Oh, so it's like, with that, like, if, for example, like, does that still, if the why was justifiable, I guess is my question. If the why was justifiable into, why they had a high body count, and if they have those values, because we're talking about values that, women could bring, I would say, yeah, it's valuable that there's a low body count. I think there's value in that. I can agree with that. But isn't there also value in self-awareness and growth and the ability to like come in and like reflect and choose to be a better person? Like, to me, there's more value in that. So I know you two have already kind of like talked about this, but I'm curious to see what you two would say about that.
Yeah, I think it's subjective, 100%. Because at the end of the day, like for me, yeah, if you come into a relationship, you're like, my body count's 10, I'm not even looking your direction. You are literally like, I'm not even going to reply back to you after that. Just because like, it doesn't matter about the why. It's a perfect thing to talk about between men and women, because this is an equal opportunity, opinion. You have to take accountability for your actions. If I shoot somebody when I was 7 years old and they're not here anymore, and I'm 27 years old, I'm like, hey, I've changed, but you're still gonna look at my past and be like, wow, he still killed somebody, like.
You can still take accountability and not
No, if he was a murderer as a child, it's gonna make you think twice about getting that relationship because he might do the same thing to you possibly.
And change the behavior. That's also
I had
people should
something
be
I
held to
also
that.
wanted to say. Okay, have y'all experienced post-nut clarity?
Everybody.
Yeah,
probably
we're
has.
Yeah.
I would say it's real.
Me personally, no, just because like anybody that I'm with I'm in a serious relationship with. So.
Yeah, but I'm talking about even on the hub, you know? Y'all experienced
no.
that?
Oh,
That one.
She's talking about.
I know.
that's a definite fact. If she talking about masturbation, we definitely have had post-nut clarity to say, man, why I do that? Why I bust that nut? I should have did something else. We do that a lot as men for sure, and that's why women ain't gonna never understand that. And see, they nuts that they bust, they don't probably never think about it like that because they so goddamn mental about it. It's usually visual for us, and some of the nuts that we bust, we ultimately realize we shouldn't have done it, and that's why when it comes down to the woman that we with, it matters who she is, because if we just busting in and we just look at her and it's like, why did I do that? It means that we shouldn't have not been there. But if we have something that's a good quality candidate and that's gonna make us want to stay there, that really matters for us.
Bro, you're talking about porn. Sorry, my mom might watch this. I gotta be stupid there.
Because I think most women, specifically, most women usually aren't just sleeping with people just to sleep with them. If we talk about satisfaction in bed, most women aren't even having fun. If you look at the statistics,
God.
most women aren't orgasming during sex. And I know
But you still
personally, every
fucking.
person I've slept with was someone that I thought I was going to be in a relationship with. And like you were saying earlier, there are a lot of guys in the dating market who will proposition you. They know that you only want a relationship. They'll court you, and then once they get the sex from you, they dip. So was it my fault for like sleeping with so many guys, or was it like, oh, I actually tried to save myself for someone good, and I tried to I didn't sleep with just anybody. I slept with this person, and I thought we were forming a relationship with each other, only to find out I was being played. It was the game. It was, I was being manipulated into giving my body up, knowing, and the person, I always let them know, like, if you don't want a relationship with me, stay far away from me. I don't want to just have sex with anybody. That's not what I'm here to do. You have to take accountability for that. Where's the accountability for men? Because this is something that I constantly hear men talk about. They talk about it's the love of the game, and it's the it's the game, and it's
All guys don't even think like that. She's still going back to the ones that she chose. This woman lacks no accountability.
And then create the game though. It's like
Who
you guys
creates
are
the game?
It
women
takes
do.
two to tango,
No,
though.
it does.
Women
It
might
does.
be the
What
playmakers.
game?
Well, no. So I'll rebuttal back off this. You're presenting that. Where's the accountability? The accountability is like we're in a society that says having sex openly, whenever you want is okay. You have full control to wait till marriage. That's up to you. So if you don't wait till marriage because you got manipulated and that's on you, that's on you.
That's
right?
okay. I'm also not looking for a religious man either. So, that's fine. That's fine.
But you don't
I
have
get
to.
it. You're
but
religious.
You don't
reason.
have to be religious.
No, but I get it. The whole waiting to have sex till marriage, that's pretty ridiculous. In
Yeah,
my
you gotta
opinion.
test drive the
But
car.
also, if we look at Gen Z statistics, we're having less sex than a lot of previous generations.
I see a lot of people.
I would say the men are having less sex. The women are still busting it down like normal. They're able to choose the guys that they really like. Possibly maybe some women are turning around and saying, you know what, I don't want men in general, whatnot. But the ones who can, they definitely are. And I don't understand. She's trying to equate him mentioning religion as to say that, I don't want a religious man either. Ma'am, you might not have no morals and standards. That might be problematic in itself because you need to follow something. Stand for something, fall for anything. If you don't have any moral values and character, you will fail. And that's what we have a lot of people out there just doing any and everything, and they have no actual moral compass. They have no actual standard to themselves, which is why they look sometimes the way how they look, because they don't care and appreciate things. And you can tell this guy still has a standard in his life, and she's trying to combat him with his own, trying to say that his standard is wrong when he's saying that you can have a standard for yourself so you can make better decisions. This is crazy.
Where it's like they're sitting there and they're courting for 7-8 months, and then after they crack, that's it. That's the end of it.
That's what we're saying is that the crack is the problem. Is if you're allowing yourself to sit here and introduce a sexual relationship too early, that's what, like a lot of you guys have said, is the complication. That's the problem. Every time that the sexual intimacy is introduced, that's the problem. That's what's causing all these issues within the relationship. Then cut that out. save that and see what happens when you don't do that. And that's
true. I think the thing that is wrong is your perspective on women.
Yeah.
So you feel that is the woman's fault if the man also wants to crack?
No, I'm saying the man shouldn't either. I think it's both ways. I think the man should definitely not want to do that either, because the minute I do it too, you know, you're going to introduce that complication, and that's why if you are going to want a serious relationship with somebody and you've had all these serious relationships that ended badly because sexual intimacy was introduced too early, then maybe that'd be something that, hey, I cut that out this time and see how that relationship goes.
Can I ask you this real quick on that? Have you ever gone and bought a car, you never test drove it or nothing, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, yo, here's the car, here's the keys, and you sign right away. You didn't do nothing, you didn't look at it, you know what I'm saying? You didn't take it around on the highway, none of that. You didn't pop the hood, none of
But a
that.
car and a woman are incomparable. That's
But it's like, I mean,
don't really work.
It's like, here's the thing about it. I understand the fact of I didn't wait in the beginning when before I got married to have sex with my woman. But I wasn't overly religious as well. But here's the thing about it. Reason why a lot of guys were able to wait, because they were probably getting versions. Usually, I'm gonna be honest, vagina's gonna be pretty much stretched across the board as the same. Just being honest. The only thing that makes it different sometimes is when it's brand new. But for the most part, you get inside of it's gonna be about the same. The most that's gonna be the difference is gonna be body odors and smells. But these men, if you know you were going to get a virgin wife, you pretty much know what to expect. So that's why they didn't care about having to test drive it early. The reason why we test driving these cars early now is because you got so much more factors involved into it. Women aren't just coming at you as a virgin, and we live in a society of equality, so women are doing exactly what men are doing. So now you get to know people on a way different level than how it was back in the day. Would I wait till marriage? I didn't, so I probably wouldn't, especially in today's society where women are way more promiscuous. You can get cooked possibly doing that, but I'm not mad at the guys who are still doing that.
Dating apps or no?
Okay, all right, that's it for that one, man. Bruh, context clues are everything. Context clues are everything, man, because I just feel like it's a lot of lack of accountability. And she's trying to take certain things, these women, not all of them, trying to take things out of context to not have any understanding or discernment for the decisions that they make. Before I get too deep into that, if y'all see this little chain on my neck, y'all, wifey bought me a chain for Valentine's Day. I don't buy jewelry. I'm not a very cosmetic guy. Even I wear a lot of G-Shocks. Wifey's bought me a lot of G-Shocks or whatnot. But yeah, she bought me a chain, man, and I really appreciate it because I was expounding upon getting one day. I don't remember when. But she actually pulled the trigger and said, I'm going to get you a little chain. But I'm probably going to add to the chains now because I appreciate wearing the chain. I just feel like it kind of fits me a little bit. I like the vibe, you know, as they would say. But when it comes down to the whole back on subject now, when it comes down to, you know, body count, dating someone with a precarious past, that stuff does matter. You know, I don't know why we should sit right here, especially if you have standards as a guy. It's going to matter. But I'll say this, what I don't know won't hurt me. So it's one of them things where if I know I'm that guy and I'm just moving and I'm just shaking, I'm probably not going to be asking too much about, you know, how deep your dating history goes. We'll talk a little bit about it and I'll go into it. But for the most part, I'm really just trying to get to know you and the characteristics that you offer into my life now and how you actually benefited. I think it's sometimes when we ask too much information and then we start getting stuck in our heads about the things that we didn't do or whatnot, you know. But most guys definitely find a woman who have 10 plus bodies very unattractive for us marrying. But for as fun, having situationships, that's another game, a different game that people are going to be playing. You know, she mentioned about guys being out there just, you know, oh, well, if you have a guy out here that's able to possibly, you know, he's trying to court me and talk to me or whatnot, it still boils down to you actually choosing the guy. If the guy is an attractive, this is what I want to get back to with the context clues. If the guy is an attractive guy, you don't think that other women are going to find him attractive. Y'all need to go into it with more contextual clues to actually be more understanding of what you're getting yourself into. You find a guy that's super attractive. Let's say he clouded and he's successful. What do you expect? He's not going to just be this unicorn and just say, no, I'm not going to do anything. He's going to be able to play the game differently than all the other guys. The more regular and average of a guy you are, you're going to be playing the game a whole lot different. Some guys who are above average can play above average games. But a lot of these women don't understand that, guess what? I'm attracted to the above average guys. So guess what? I'm going to play that game with them. But y'all don't like the game though. Because those guys are going to be they going to be heartless probably. They ain't going to care about, your feelings in the situation. You there, they already conquered you. Don't let it be good. Now you're stuck. Now you're staying. Now you're on the clock carousel. You got to be careful about that. But a lot of people going to sit in their own misery, and then they're going to end up blaming the guys that they chose because you lack accountability. You're going to blame those guys and say, you know what? It's your fault for not keeping your tool in your pants when I'm the one that let your tool get in my pants. Y'all know do you hear how that sounds? That sounds crazy, right? That's the lack of accountability. And what's sad is Blondie, when her argument went straight to the guys are out here just sleeping around or constantly trying to court women. I guarantee you, bruh, all these, don't get me wrong, some of these guys up here probably maybe constantly do it, but some of them, they don't even probably go out there shooting every shot. I'm going to be honest. I say at least 3 of them don't. Maybe one, the dude with the purple on his sleeve, he look like he probably take a bunch of shots. But the other 3 look kind of reserved, just being honest. And one of them spoke on Christian values or religious values, whatever he is. That's going to give him even more discernment to say, you know what, now I'm fighting an internal battle, internal struggle to say I'm going to try and abstain for the right one. See, and that's the funny part. You still have guys still trying to follow some form of moral compass to prevent that. But y'all, guess what? Y'all still don't want that guy. You got the guy out here literally trying to fight against his own natural urge to want different types of women or love to. He fights against that. Because a lot of guys still don't like playing the game because the game still can be it still can be kind of vicious when it comes down to how you still got to court all these women, especially if you don't want nothing serious. You might have guys that just lie. Now you bringing out different characteristics that you don't even want to have to harness. You want to be a different type being outside of that. So when women say all these guys are just bad guys, you only talking about a small select few because all guys don't even think and move like that. But that's really just what I wanted to speak on with this. I enjoyed the back and forth. You got so many different, you got many layers to these females. They all pretty much think very similar, from the boss one with the white shirt on. Y'all got to watch the beginning of this. Make sure y'all watch it in its entirety because even the beginning was I think even better than this part with the nice guy conversation. The nice guys finish last. And the boss lady with the white shirt on was saying that, she makes a lot of money, the whole 9, and she just doesn't want a guy to pedestalize her. But you still chasing the guys who you would want to pedestalize you, but they don't. See, that in itself tells you why it's not good to be the nice guy. But it's sad because I think a lot of guys are genuinely would like to be nice because we do have we want to have respect for characteristics when it comes down to women because we just look at them as a different type of being. Make sure y'all like the video, comment below. I'll have this link in the description so y'all can watch it in its entirety. It's your guy JayBReacts. Until next time, y'all. Peace.